Give me a minute and let's talk about what's happening on the front line in Kursk. Now, about a week ago, I would say this was accurate, what we're looking at here. Up here, you have the same river. The Ukrainians have destroyed the bridges across the river, destroying the ground lines of communication for about 3,000 troops trapped down here. The Russians knew they were trapped and were trying to figure out a way to get there. At this point, I think the Ukrainians have destroyed something like 12 pontoon bridges. The Russians just keep trying to put them up. The Ukrainians just keep knocking them down and destroying the engineering vehicles and teams that are doing the work. So that is not sustainable, clearly. We saw the Ukrainians begin to push in from the other side here. And effectively, these 3,000 troops are trapped in a pocket here. They're in the cauldron. It's just a little bit bigger. This is about 700 square kilometers. Now, this all changed late last week when the Russians, in a bid to free themselves from the dependency of the bridges and getting across the river with the bridges, they came down along the river and wedged themselves in here in order to open up the one road that gets them to Glishkovo. And I'll tell you, the Ukrainian high command took a lot of flack for this. There were all these analysts that were saying, how could the Ukrainians let this happen? How could they be so unprepared for it? Well, now the talk is about this whole thing was a trap. Because what happened was when the Russians pushed through here and got access to this road, what did they do? They put troops on it and equipment and supplies. And then the Ukrainians started to hit them. There's video of the Ukrainians taking out troop concentrations of between 30 and 100 troops at a time as they try to transit this road. This road is a corridor of death. There's no two ways about it. The Ukrainians are eliminating the reinforcements before they can get to the forward positions down here. The help that all these guys think is coming from down this road is being destroyed on it in transit. So think about all those reserves that were called from the Eastern Front, right, that were pushing toward Pokrovsk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, Kharkiv. They come up, they retake this place, they take this road, they start traveling on it, and suddenly they are no longer in the fight. And that's what's going on. Now, further to that, this great video has emerged of Ukrainian engineering equipment clearing the dragon's teeth at the southern border of Kursk. Now, the border's right there. There's a whole ton of troops on the other side that have been accumulated there. The engineers come in, they clean out the dragon's teeth, and now the Ukrainian armed forces march across the border. They don't even have to worry about landmines because the Russians haven't had time to mine it, and they know it. So now you've got all these troops down here that are surrounded, right, about to be taken into a pocket. The whole area, the whole 750 square kilometers or so, is now at risk. You've got Ukrainian troops coming in from this side, coming in from this side, coming in from this side, squeezing the whole thing. I firmly believe that the Ukrainians are going to take this whole area south of the same river, and they're going to do it in short order because now they've got permission. I hate to use that word because we should never have had to give permission. You know, when you're helping somebody out, oh, you're in trouble? Here's $5. Oh, but only spend it on food, right? Don't pay your light bill. Don't pay your rent. Don't do anything else with it. You can only spend it on who the fuck What kind of a friend, when you're in trouble, gives you $5 that you need and then tells you what to do with it? It's bullshit. Bullshit. If we want to help the Ukrainians out, we give them the capabilities and we let them decide what they're going to do. So anyway, it looks like Paris, London, and DC have finally relented and given the Ukrainians authorization to use ATACMS. At the very least, we know ATACMS are in use. It only makes sense that the Storm Shadows and Scalps will be next. And we've seen video of troop concentrations of between 30 and 100 troops being destroyed by ATACMS cluster munitions on the territory of the Russian Federation. Now, this officially, I guess, puts us in a state of war with Russia, the U.S., because that's what Putin said. If the U.S. permits the use of these weapons on the Russian Federation territory, it will be the same as a declaration of war against Russia. Well then, I guess we are at fucking war, Russia. And it's about time. Because God knows you've been at war with us for 20 fucking years. It is about time that we took some steps to defend ourselves. At any rate, now I'll tell you something. I've seen different maps. There are very different maps out there about what is currently under Ukrainian control. One of those maps puts this entire area already under Ukrainian control. I'm not suggesting it is. There is the fog of war. But the troops in that area, they have to know they should either be preparing to surrender or to meet Jesus. Those are the only options they have. And so it would behoove them to lay down their weapons before it is too late. But we will see whether or not reason prevails in Kursk. It appears that something like this is the current situation. The Ukrainians are pushing from the east, from the south, and from the west. And again, you see this purple line here? That's the same river, about 750 square kilometers of Russian territory below that river are cut off from the rest of Russia. The troops are cut off, they can't get resupplied, and the one road that the Russians managed to open is currently a killing field. That does not offer much hope to anybody down here. So that's the current situation on the front line in Kursk. It looks as though the Ukrainians are about to double the amount of Russian territory that they currently have under their control, from about 1,200 square kilometers to about 2,000. It's a turning point, or it could be. This looks like this has the hallmarks of an operational breakthrough that will change fundamentally the course of the war. I want to give a big shout out to Patsy Huth, who is the sponsor of this video. Patsy joined the Patreon, and so every month I thank her for her ongoing and continued support and for my life here in Ukraine, because I could not do this without her and everybody else on the Patreon. Thanks, guys.